As lockdown restrictions ease in coming months, the property market that's been frozen not only because of the COVID-19 lockdown, but also because of the dismal economy, needs to be brought back to life. We investigate how everyone in the home buying supply chain, from agents to buyers to sellers and conveyance attorneys, have been hamstrung by the closing of the deeds office, in some cases with unimaginable consequences.
Buying a home is a rite of passage, and for many, one of the biggest commitments they'll make in their lives. It offers the potential for financial stability and security. The housing market was already in a slump due to the recession. Now the lockdown caused by COVID-19 has thrown real estate into the biggest crisis it has ever faced.
If you want to buy or sell a house, the deeds office is where the transfer from old to new owner happens. However, when South Africa went into lockdown, deeds offices across the country shut down, freezing the property market.
Anastasia Haji Pavlu is a conveyance attorney. She relies on a properly functioning deeds office to be able to do her job.
All property transactions in South Africa are recorded in terms of our Deeds Registry Act, and they are recorded at the deeds office. And it's at the deeds office where we go to register the transaction.
When the deeds office was closed for level 5, what did that mean for the property market?
The reality for us as a conveyancing practice is that during level 5, we were not able to conclude our transactions. In other words, because the deeds office was closed, the council was closed, SARS was not issuing transfer duty receipts, we could not register our transactions in the deeds office. And therefore, sellers were not getting the proceeds of their sales, buyers were not becoming the owners of the properties, and they could not move into their new properties.
The 9 deeds offices around the country shut down when South Africa went into lockdown, in effect seizing the engine that drives the property market. This has had a devastating impact on real estate agents like Dina Pittam.
As real estate agents, we contribute a lot to GDP in this country, and everything stopped. Even though what I do mostly is taking buyers to view a property. So I would only be taking 2 people at a time. The risk, I believe, is low, but I'm unable to do that at the moment.
When the lockdown was lowered to level 4, deeds offices were supposed to reopen this week, but this still has not happened. Michelle Dickens from the TPN Credit Bureau explains why.
A number of the deeds offices remain closed in preparation for getting the premises safe and PPE equipment, etc. on site. But effectively what could happen is if a property is transferred and yet we still have a restriction on movement, it means the buyer is liable for the bond, but he can't actually physically move into the property and may still be paying rent in the property that he's currently occupying.
So even if I have sold my property and it has been transferred, I am also stuck in that property.
Correct, and paying occupational rent to the buyer.
Buying a home is a dream for most people, but with the property market frozen because of lockdown, for many, that dream has turned into a nightmare.
Some of my clients are in desperate situations. I've got a situation with an elderly couple. This is the money that they need for their future. And not being well, they needed to go into a retirement home. They are now stuck. They're stuck in their home, which is empty. I have other clients in financial difficulties that need to sell. We've got clients that are getting divorced. Clients who immigrated, we've got houses sitting empty at the moment.
We went to visit one of these empty houses.
So, Dina, could you tell me about this house?
This house I sold about a month prior to lockdown. The seller then packed up their home and left to go overseas. The buyer is renting a property, and this is probably one of the deals that will be able to go ahead with the deeds office opening. The problem here is that the buyer will now find herself in a position, once transfer goes through, that she will need to be able to sustain her monthly repayments of her mortgage bond, her rates and taxes, as well as the rent, because she cannot move from where she is.
They say that after death and divorce, moving house is one of life's most stressful events. That's been doubly so for Tracy, not her real name. She was threatened by the person she sold her house to and has been so traumatized by the experience, she asked that her true identity be hidden for fear of reprisals.
We were trying to sell the house for 3 years. And eventually he was like, I can guarantee you a buyer. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, what do I have to lose? What could go so wrong?
After she sold, Tracy bought a new home but has not been able to move in because the existing owners are still living there due to lockdown restrictions. But the new owner of her house insisted on occupation on the 1st of May, threatening to throw Tracy onto the street when he moved in. In desperation, she's been forced to rent another property just to get out of the house.
I had to contact the agent again and say, well, I can't move still, so can we extend the occupational rent? They were, at that point, starting to get quite threatening. Whether I was there or not, they were coming in. So we did get quite scared. I wasn't quite sure how or what to do. And I wasn't sure of the caliber of person I was dealing with because of the way they were handling the matter. I'd even been to the police, like 3 different police stations. And they were like, you can't report something before it happens. So I felt like I had no other choice, but I clearly had to move out. Although I knew it was illegal and I would possibly never in my wildest dreams do what I just did, I had to get people to move me out. On the first, these people pitched there and literally kicked us out.
While you are doing all of this, you are aware that you are breaking the law.
I am. I'm also not sure what other choices I've had. It's just a nightmare that's not ending.
But according to attorney Silna Steyn, it is illegal to forcibly evict someone during level 4 lockdown.
We are unfortunately seeing more illegal evictions than ever before. It is actually a criminal offence in terms of the Disaster Management Act. This is a real crime. If you get caught, we're talking potential 6 months jail sentence and an actual criminal record. So the only option is for a landlord and tenant to meet each other halfway, because there's so many tenants that can't afford to pay rent, they want to move. They even have agreements with the landlords to move as soon as we reach the end of level 4. Level 4 does allow us to proceed with eviction applications, as well as even go as far as obtaining an eviction order. But the execution of the order, so physically sending the sheriff to remove the people from the property, that is stayed. We can commence, we can obtain the orders, but we just can't execute yet.
The lockdown is having severe consequences on the economy, with many people unable to pay their rent. So what recourse do they have?
Having an open conversation with your landlord if you're a tenant that's being threatened and you do not have the income or the earnings in order to pay your rent at the moment, it must be such a difficult position to be in, because even if you want to move, you're restricted from doing that. But document it, provide the supporting documentation to show the position that you're in, and enter into an agreement with your landlord that on the first day when you are entitled to move, that on that day you will be exiting the property.
So we have done a rent recovery pact together with TPN, allowing for landlords and tenants to come to some or the other agreement between them to either do a rent deferment agreement or to utilize the deposit. It's up to the landlord, but I would like to see landlords really trying their best to accommodate tenants that are truly suffering and that truly can't pay their rent.
But then on Thursday, a ray of hope for those able to move. The government relaxed level 4 regulations. People and their household effects may move around South Africa on a once-off basis between now and the 7th of June. This applies to those who entered a new lease agreement either before or during lockdown, or those that have bought new homes and the transfer of the property has already gone through. In order to move, you will need to obtain a permit from your local police station, along with a copy of the signed lease agreement or transfer. Unfortunately, this doesn't help Tracy, as the house she purchased still needs to be transferred into her name. With interest rates slashed, it should be a good time to buy, but despite deeds offices reopening, real estate agents won't be able to work until level 2 restrictions. This has everyone in the value chain worried. Property agent Herschel Jarvis fears for the future of his business.
To be honest, it's the first time I've been back here since we were locked down in March, and the silence is deafening. You know, we would normally have 40 or 50 people here, phones ringing, deals being done, talking to clients. Obviously anxious, not only for our agents, but also for our clients and all the people in our value chain. So the impact of this is extended way beyond just our brand and our people.
As a conveyancer, we earn our fee and we pass our fee on registration of the transaction. There have been no registration of matters since the end of March. The fact and the reality is that we are not getting an income at the moment.
Estate agents are struggling. They have bills to pay like anybody else. They are breadwinners in many families. They don't know where to turn. As estate agents, we don't qualify for UIF. We are commission earners only. There is just no assistance for estate agents.
When you eventually can move, what will it mean to your family?
Huge breath of fresh air for me, not having that fear of being somewhere where someone's actually forcefully throwing you out. I don't think I'd slept. I think the first good night's sleep I had was probably last night.